Hi, this is Lamis Sanat and I'm a sales engineer at Instabug, and today I'll be talking to you about some of the underlying reasons that could be impacting your code app launch and screen loading time. One of the most frustrating experiences is to see a problem happening right in front of you and not knowing why. For example, detecting an outlier right here in the code app launch. Latencies could happen either because of a specific attribute or something from behind the scenes that isn't adding up. So this might be because of a problem in the stages or methods relevant to the launch, or a latency in the network. Some app launches can include some network calls happening during the launch in order to fetch content or the data needed for the screen that will be shown next. And these network calls most probably could impact the performance of the cold app launch because they could share device resources with the normal cold app launch or blocking the launch to end. Given that, you will need to detect the impact of network calls and cold app launch latency to understand if the real cause behind the increase, if it's the real cause behind the increase in latency or not. And this is where the span section gets really useful, and you can find the section if you scroll down a bit. You will find it right here. So the spans shows the cold app launch stages happening on the cold app launch, such as on create and on start, and the network calls that started and ended during or within the cold app launch itself. The goal of this section is to detect which spans has high latency and some context about it, so you would know if it has a direct impact on the overall cold app launch or not. The spans section consists of the spans name, which is the name of the span group, whether it was a network call or an app launch stage. You can see the P50 and the P95 right here. And this shows you the total duration of each span in milliseconds, and you can also see the P50 and the P95 change, which is the change rate of P50 and P95 durations from the last period based on the selected date filter. You can also see the number of the average call, which and this will show you the average number of times this span was called per occurrence, and this information will help you understand the redundancy of the span per individual occurrence. And lastly, the frequency shows you how many times the span happened per occurrence, per all occurrences of this metric, regardless of its frequency per occurrence. So let's say that you find that the cold app launch is very high and you want to investigate if there is a specific span that's causing this increase. You can use the spans section in order to find the latency value per span through the P50 and through the P95. You can understand if the latencies were introduced recently or not through the P50 change and the P95 change, and you can understand if any span is redundant through the average call. And lastly, you can determine the severity of spans by understanding its frequency with the cold app launch. So at the end of the day, you'll be able to detect which spans has the highest latency at a glance. You would understand the impact of network calls happened on the overall launch latency, and you would understand if any span happens more than one time per occurrence, or if there was any redundancy. And the best part is you can use the span section in both cold app launch and screen loading time. So if you go to the screen loading time right here, and you choose the specific screen that you want to monitor, and you scroll down a bit, you will also find the spans section right here. So that's it for today. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.